Listen, what you spend your time and your money on is what you will have in your life. I come to you today as a citizen of the world. I've had a blessed life living on the stages of Los Angeles and the stages all over the world. I have learned my knowledge 5 minutes at a time at the back of a dolly, asking a world-class cinematographer why he chose to put that light there. I love my life. I love my city of Los Angeles that gave me the opportunities that let me travel to come and talk to you today. I love my city. I love my state of California, which fights for labor and protects the individual. I love my country of America. I love the opportunities it has given me. I'm sad to see the voice of fear take rise, and it is the constant vigil of all free countries to stand for peace and prosperity and sharing knowledge, not with just our city or just our state or just our country. Zoltan asked me to come here and speak to you today, and I always give to the people asking, like I asked as a young man at the back of the dolly, why did you put that light there? Teach me your knowledge. Share with me how I can be a better craftsman, a better artist. Teach me how I can have my feelings expressed through this technology to touch the hearts and the souls of the people that we seek to tell these stories with. Stories took us from cavemen out of the cave, around the fire, into community. And community created cities, which created states, which created us going to the moon. And the reason we went to the moon is because storytellers showed us going there before we went there. Children of the 60s saw sci-fi movies that inspired them to go create that dream as a reality. My city of Los Angeles is a world-class expert at creating warnings and guideposts for where we should not go and where we should go. A month ago, a homeless man on a Tuesday was trying to break into my laundry machine for a stack of quarters. That is the state that I personally and the leaders of my state and my city have allowed our fellow human beings to fall to. When I walk the city of Breda, I see a gorgeous city, a fine example. You should be so proud of this place that you have created. And it is a joy to be here, and I wish that I could take my city leaders here to learn from you how to do a stunning and beautiful city. So with that overview stated, I would like to now share a generation of knowledge that I have stolen like Promethean fire, and will give you as much information that you can use to use virtual production to make beautiful images, to tell stories that shape the hearts and the minds of those that are in fear now to return to love and peace. So thank you, and I appreciate your attention, and I appreciate your time. I started out in 1994 moving to Los Angeles. I was immediately picked up by a group of grips who move flags around and create shadows. I worked with Michel Gondry. I learned first in-camera special effects from him using first surface mirrors that don't have glass in the front, shipped over from France. I learned to take the time to do the effort to make an incredible image, working on Bjork music videos and working with talented actresses and singers. Bjork held the 12-step ladder from my grip when he climbed the light, right? These are beautiful human beings doing beautiful work, right? Music videos in the 90s were where a technology would be invented and a director would see it as a little hook for doing a 3-minute short film. And being in that crucible, we were able to learn so much that then would appear in features a year later. And that was my homework, and that was what I was born into and lucky enough to work with. I worked on Spike Jonze's crew, worked on Being John Malkovich, a lovely human being, like just an amazing creator, very generous to his crew, and taught me a lot about how to like be present for an actor, create the vibe on a set that creates a space where the actors can do their work, but also to take the time to let the crew do their work. I worked with J.J. Abrams, who was a wonderful human being who showed me that when you have a lot of money, spend it and spend it right. Get large crews, use the large camera effects, take a day to get one shot, but get an amazing shot strung together to make an amazing movie. Be able to dirty up a frame, smear the lens, streak the lens, use anamorphics, right? We're reminding us that imagery is emotion. Start with the emotional content, right? And then let the technology follow your heart. Your most important tools working in virtual production is your heart and your eyes, right? Do you believe it? Do you suspend your disbelief? Do you like it? Okay, that's the goal. Is it entertaining, right? Manuel Luzbecki, Chivo, working with him, he taught me so much about lighting, light big, large bounces, soft, right? He also laughed when I asked him, like, how important is 4K or 6K in IMAX? How much of The Revenant did you shoot in IMAX? He laughed at craft service when I caught him for my 5-minute lesson. And he's like, so much of that was shot on 3.2K. This Netflix needing it to be 4K is complete silliness, right? Milk Studios, right? A lot of times coming from film, we look down on the stills guy who comes in and spends an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours lighting a single frame. I chose the beginner's mind. I light 50, 100 frames a day. I light fast and I hit hard. But I learned a lot lighting album covers for famous singers, spending 12 hours delicately lighting one single frame, right? I had a lot to learn from them about their process, and the stills guys made me a much better film guy. Right? And the process of a stills person is to begin with the key light, and raise it up higher, turn off all the other lights, begin there, move it around, play, find the perfect angle. Okay, now you have your key light, now you have your brightness, now you have your anchor point. Like two drunk people trying to light a cigarette and move a lighter. That's how film set people light. Oh, I'm gonna do this light. Oh, that doesn't look good. Now I'm churning up the backlight, now the ratio's blown, right? The key light is the king. Set it first. Set it. Let it inform everything else. Then add your fill light. Turn the key light off. Move your fill light around. Find its beautiful spot. Turn the key light back on. This was the lessons that Milk Studios taught me, working with some of the world's best stills people. A very expensive place. Most of my lighting bills come in at around 4,000 euros for a 2-day shoot with a truck full of lights. I brought in the standard lighting package for high-speed lighting, 20K, some breezy lights. My lighting bill was 30,000 euros with Milk Studios, and 5 of my crew were like, this place is so ridiculous, how dare they, this is awful. But that same day, the manager of Milk Studios came in and saw all my lighting setups, and they invited me to be the gaffer for the next 2 years, working with all their stills people. And the second they asked me what my rate was, my 500 euro rate suddenly became 850. And I got it because I saw the value of Milk Studios and I saw my own value. And unlike the conversation of my friends who devalued them asking for their rate and devalued themselves, I saw that they were the world class with the world class, right? So I learned a lot from Milk Studios about taking pride in our own work. Every flag you set has your signature on it. When you go up to the perms and you have your tape measure on your belt and it clips off and almost kills someone below, that's your signature too, right? We work in very dangerous environments. We have to be careful and take care of each other when we work, okay? I did a lot of commercial beauty lighting with Milk Studios, okay? I've had a lot of enjoyment traveling the world, shooting Antarctica with National Geographic, shooting features, working with lovely people like Miley Cyrus, who thanked every crew person individually at the end of the day, right? One of my favorite jobs was getting asked to light all my favorite cinematographers right? I got to sit with Roger Deakins and ask him, how did you feel about working on 2049, Blade Runner? You know, some of the most beautiful lighting I've seen in features. And he goes like this, oh, all I can see are my mistakes. I've seen it 147 times, right? So no matter how high you climb, there's never enough budget, and no matter how good you are, there's always a part of you that seeks to be better each day, right? One of the things that's, as much as I try and give back, I always end up learning more. I came here really to give to Zoltan as a good friend, and I had a busy schedule, but I knew if he was asking, it was important to him and his loved ones. And like all times, every time I try and give, I end up receiving more. Like, what a beautiful city. What a joy to be here. All right, I film documentaries. I find it important when working with virtual production to get outside, right? I have one slot a year where I dedicate to documentaries. Go to Antarctica. So when I'm recreating something in the virtual production, I have the soul of a real place to transmit to the other humans that cannot go there. Be truthful in your representations. You cannot be truthful if you are swallowing the tail of a digital environment, right? What does a place smell like? What does the spirit of the land tell you when you're standing in Antarctica? When you smell the clean air that is the legacy of us humans that we have polluted with gasoline engines. I did not know what real clean environment was until I went to Antarctica. And when I came back, that's when I understood what I never felt as a child when I was a kid amongst these dirty cities, right? When I went to Mount Everest, I felt that rock. I stood there and felt that land that loves her Sherpas so much. Everybody says when you go climb Everest, you feel the mountain. She calls people to her, and she punishes you for viciousness and for impertinitude. But she protects too. She loves her people so much. And you can't bring that to a virtual production stage unless you've gone to a foreign land and stood there and let that land teach you what it is. I believe that Mount Everest called me to come there and experience that. I believe that that led me to work on certain projects, right? One of the projects I'm going to talk about today is Europa, and it's about the moon of Jupiter. And it's a director who's focusing about what the water and what life is and what life will look like when we encounter it in other places, right? So I find virtual production is great for a lot of things, right? This is a shoot I did with Rob Lowe. I worked with Rob Lowe in the 90s, and we filmed with him at 2 a.m., and he came on set at 2 a.m. and was like, why the hell am I here? Oh my God, I freaking hate this. How long is this lighting setup gonna take? You know, and we're all like, okay, just screw it, just use the bounce, all right, let's roll, right? And you know, he's got to perform, and he's a famous guy, and filming at 2 a.m. at bitter cold sucks, right? 15 years later, I'm working with him in LA, and now I'm the cinematographer, not the guy holding the bounce card. Hi, Rob, good to see you again. I think you're gonna like today. He's like, okay, I've never done this VP, but let me check it out. So he was doing the bumpers for a TV show that takes place in Boston in the winter at night. We had 12 lighting setups to do. I had 10 hours with him, right? And we had 20 minutes to film him and 20 minutes to change over the lighting. Fortunately, from my years as a gaffer, I knew how to create a ring of fire, just have lights everywhere in a full circle, soft, medium, and hard, and just be able to have the dimmer board open it up. I had dialed in the lights the day before, right? 10-minute lighting changeover, completely different environment, few objects in front. Boom, he was in and out in 10 hours, showed up at 8 a.m., done by 6 p.m., right? He's like, oh my God, he said at the end of the night, I am never doing another night shoot again. I had no idea this was a possibility, right? And that's one of the things with virtual production. Even the ability to do that will allow you to get an actor who you normally couldn't get, right? And you can film a vision that you're not gonna get, okay? Virtual production can punch up otherwise normal things. This is an interesting use case. I filmed a thing called The GOAT Code with John Brinkus. That's the greatest of all time, a bunch of our NBA football players. That doesn't mean soccer. That's that round oblong thing that we throw and spend a lot of money on. So we were interviewing the Hall of Famers. This is what I call using virtual production as a Tiffany box, right? Last year, I bought my girlfriend some beautiful earrings in Budapest at a Tiffany store. I gave her that at Christmas. And then when she was drinking her coffee and trying on the new earrings, I cleverly took the little box, put it in my sock drawer, and saved it for when I was in Istanbul, and bought some much cheaper but equally beautiful and lovely necklace. And then that went in the Tiffany box, and then went under the Christmas tree this year, right? So as long as the Tiffany box makes you feel like you've gotten a wonderful gift, the package inside could be beautiful on its own right, right? So we filmed this at the Trilith Studios in Atlanta, one of the biggest LED volumes, right? And so we had a technique where we would bring in all 6 of the football heroes, 10 minutes, do an intro, techno crane, big sweeping set, 10-minute talk, 5-minute outro, boom, they're done, right? The episode's gonna be an hour, right? But we just did 10 minutes, boom, 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 boom. Got them all their intros and outros and big sweeps. Then, over the next 4 weeks, he would just have that football hero in the same outfit come over to the house in his mansion, have them do a barbecue, get them relaxed, and then they'd go into a shoebox closet that was green screen with a couple of mimics running Unreal Engine. The same graphics that were playing on their shoulders here would play through the mimic on the green screen, and then they would just film them like this for a 3-hour conversation that would be cut down to an hour, right? So you spend just 2 days on a VP stage, and you spend 4 weeks in a green screen shoebox closet, but edited together, it looks like a big high-end production that was shot on a huge sound stage for 4 weeks. Right? So these are real-life experiences as how you can take virtual production and use it like a crowbar to lever yourself to look much better than you are, right? Be clever with this. I work on elevator pitch, so I'm showing you high-end sci-fi, which we're going to go into great detail. John Brinkus, which is sports show at the, just flashy moving graphics, which completely upgrades a sports show at some of the lower tier. And then elevator pitch, which is an 8-camera multi-show, reality style. Come in the elevator, you have 60 seconds to pitch us your idea. If the idea is good, you get to go in the boardroom. So we have 3 judges in the boardroom, and we have a virtual LED wall creating a living city out the window with clouds moving by. Obviously, it's expensive and hard to film in an elevator, so we have it on a sound stage, and we press play on the virtual wall, and it shows an elevator going up. It started out as a green screen show for the first 9 seasons, and then season 10, it tipped, and they brought me in, and we did VP, and we took it from a really, very internet TV show to a full-fledged, full production, beautiful show, relighting all of that. And so that's examples where we don't use camera tracking, we just have it as a translight in the background that's a living entity. But it gives us a lot of variety. We film 4 episodes in 1 day, but it looks like it's filmed over a week. When we do the flies, we turn it to nighttime, it turns to city, and then they do their little talks at the end of the day, right? So that's another way you can use virtual production to take a mid-level show and make it look like a high-level show, right? So now the movie Europa. It's a short film that was done by a director named Jacqueline Rosenthal. She is from USC. This was produced by ETC, which is the Entertainment and Technology Center at USC. George Lucas, who gave back, created them. They are pushing technology forward, and they do white papers, they create shows. So we created this so that Sony and Cook Lenses and ETC could have a sci-fi show that looks like a high-budget sci-fi show that we can talk about. So much of my high-end work I'm not allowed to talk to you about or show you pictures of, because that's how high-end IP works these days. So this is one of those projects I was extremely excited to be able to work on because it meant that I could come to rooms like this and share every nuance without worrying about violating my agreements, right? So they have a little video I'd love to show you for a moment or two that will, let's see if that makes it go. How about enter? How about I click on that? Bear with me. I'm an expert in technology, maybe. There we go.
Since day one at this company with Sony and with Pixo, once they have merged, has just been such a beautiful pioneering moment in this new frontier of virtual production.
We have a unique blend of industry professionals who have been in industry for decades, as well as students who are either still in school or just graduated.
I had a really amazing experience with the Sony ecosystem.
Sony is the only player in the game that makes the cameras, that makes the walls, and that makes the monitors, and they all talk to each other.
We used the Sony color calibrator. The work on that program, being able to like plug in and play and get a color accurate LUT onto the wall and have it suddenly look perfect and just know that it's scientifically accurate, does it in 20 minutes.
Because of the virtual Venice, we've been able to look at things in the very beginning before we get to post, only makes the post job easier.
As you look at virtual production, metadata, all these other technologies, it's an exciting time to be a filmmaker.
Sony being an entertainment technology company, because this project clearly is at the crossroads of technology and entertainment.
So that gives you a little behind the scenes look at that. Let's see, where are my slides? Can you put my slides back up? Sorry, I'm lost in where the slides are. Thanks, I never would have found that. Appreciate you. All right, so yeah, directed by Jacqueline Elise Rosenthal, produced by ETC, executive producers Eric Weaver, Tom, and Christina Lee Storm, and then I filmed it. So we filmed on Sony Stage 7. Your LED panels and your choice of stages are crucial. How do you find a good VP stage, right? Back in 2020, there were 3 tiers of stages, right? There was you would walk in and they couldn't turn the wall on. Hey, but it's great. You'll love it when you're here on the day, right? And that was the bottom tier. They didn't even have a VAD team. They couldn't even show you the wall on when you did your walkthrough, right? You didn't want that stage. There was the mid-level stage, which had Chewbacca and R2-D2, and there would be 2 people over there, and they'd be welding it to get it working, and 20 minutes of the person doing this, distracting you until the wall was active, and then they'd have it for the demo for you to that day, right? And then you'd walk into stages like Amazon Studios, where they had 2 $40,000 racks of computers, and you're like, why do you have 2 of them? And he's like, because Unreal crashes all the time, and when the A system crashes, B system, we go like this on the slider, and you never even notice there was a crash. And then we have time to fix the A system. You're like, okay, that's what having money is like, okay. So Sony is option A, they have money. So this beautiful, you know, doubled up rack, beautiful power lines, gorgeous stage. The panels are incredible. Things to look for when you're checking out a virtual production stage. They'll always have you come and stand here and look at it and go, looks great, doesn't it? You're like, yeah, don't stand here. Do this. When does the color break down, right? And as a virtual production expert, I'll tell you exactly where it is. You know, off-brand cheap Chinese thing, you know, row panels, pretty damn good, you know, pretty good angle. Sony, 4 times as much, but holy cow, it's still holding up. Oh my God, I can put the camera here and I still get color accuracy, right? You have multiple things. You have pixel pitch, which is how close the little LEDs are together, right? Pixel pitch tells you how close you can get to the wall, right? If I'm 2.8, let me do this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2.8, that's as close to the wall as I can get, right? So if I have a 2.8 wall and I put a camera there, I get off the wall fairly quick. Same size wall, if I have a 1.5 or 1.9 pixel pitch, right? I can be 6, even 5 feet from the wall, right? All of a sudden you can see how much more wall is around me to your own perspective, right? So if you're a school and you have a small space, it's better to buy, and you're just going to install the wall, buy a 0.9 wall so your students can be right up on it and they can get, it'll behave like a stage that's twice the size. It may be half again as much as the cost, but it'll still be better and still be cheaper and still be more effective, right? Now, if you're moving your stage around a lot, those 0.9 panels break every time you try and move them and reconfigure them, right? So they're super delicate. So 2.8 is the bare minimum. 1.9 is a great panel size. 2.2 is a great panel size. 0.9 is a good panel size for a tiny stage that you're not going to move, right? So that's what pixel pitch tells you. But the thing they don't talk about is viewing angle, right? What angle you have to be at to see it, right? The other thing they don't talk to you about is color degradation. How quickly does the little LED over 2 years of being on turn green, fall apart, break apart, right? Ro's a great company. They're very good about replacing their panels. They're very affordable when a panel breaks. They have a great reputation. They're a great industry standard. We shot at the Sony, and the Sony panels didn't begin their life as a Jumbotron TV that's been shrunk down. These Sony panels began their life as a color accurate monitor that they scaled up, and it reads. They're expensive, but they're stunning. And the ability to get amazing shots, really you live and die on the quality of your wall. The next thing is the quality of your VAD team, right? You need your Chewbacca and your R2-D2 keeping the Millennium Falcon flying. These things are like bicycles. If you don't have a kickstand on your bicycle and you get off your bicycle, it's gonna fall over on the ground. LED stage is the same thing. It was working yesterday. We came in and turned it on, and it's not working today. We have no idea why, but we'll be right back with you, right? So, okay. Lenses, right? You know, traditional wisdom is you cannot shoot anamorphic lenses on LED walls for a myriad of reasons, right? Unreal doesn't know how to warp the image the same way that the anamorphic lenses do, right? All of that. Well, fortunately, I had the experience for the first time ever of getting a full set of Cooke anamorphic lenses mailed to us for use on Europa. And I thought they were going to bring them out in the cases that you always see, right? No, these were brand new lenses shipped over from Europe, and the ETC's like, hey, your lenses are here, you going to come check them out? And I'm like, sure. So I come down, and there's cardboard boxes with brand new lenses, and it's like $200,000 of glass. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That new anamorphic smell. So what's special about these lenses, right? These are the Cooke eye lenses. They have a lens tracking built into them and a cable built into the lens, right? So that metadata travels with you. What does that mean? Why do I care, right? What this means is there's a serial number on the lens. That lens has been, that specific lens has been digitally modeled at all of its focal lengths with all of its aperture settings, right? So how anamorphics breathe and color and distort in that beautiful fashion that we as cinematographers love so much, it tracks with it, right? So that little file can be applied in Unreal. So when I go to Unreal and I'm filming on the LED wall and I got all my actors moving around in the physical space, when I cut to the digital only master shot with the little models moving around the giant scene of Europa as we pull back, I can apply that lens distortion to that Unreal burnout and it'll warp it in the same way. I could choose my lenses for my digital assets like I'm choosing my lenses for my physical capture. Right? So it's one of the beautiful things about the Cooke lenses. Cooke lenses paired with the Sony Venice, chef's kiss. Oh my God, I love them. Okay? Aperture lighting and live effects. Getting lighting cues are very important for LED walls. You have to match the lighting with what's happening in the environment, right? So Usually you have a DMX board operator who's $1,500 a day. The DMX is $3 grand a week to rent, and it's like 5 dudes running patches, and I need 5 days to program in the lighting cues. We had a scene where the energy of Europa comes into the room and fades up and then fades down and then goes to black and then goes to normal lighting, right? And I had 2 electricians, and I had no dimmer board operator, right? So what do, right? Well, we used live effects. And we took a video file, tapped out of Unreal, and sent a video feed of what's happening on the LED screen doing all this lighting. And then we did live effects and told it just apply those DMX color codes and lighting cues to my Aperture lights. It took Tim Kang from Aperture and Ben Dines 20 minutes to set it up. My gaffer was like, I've never done this, but here's the laptop. You know, they're like, here's Aperture lighting, here's how you do it. Boom. I looked over there, I was like, sure, Tim, I want live effects. I'm like, great, another technical thing to break on me while I'm trying to shoot whatever. 20 minutes later, like we do the cue, all of the lights come up, all of the lights go down. I didn't have to do any DMX programming. Live effects saved my bacon on that shoot like you would not believe. I was like, holy cow, I love my friends. Like Tim was just like, dude, you really need this. I'm like, do I really? He's like, just trust me, I want to come down and do it for you. It's like, okay, you know, let your friends help you. You don't know how important these relationships are for your friends, right? So live effects, look into it if you own a virtual production stage. Okay, benefits of the Technocrane. We had a virtual set and a practical white snow floor. I knew that laying dolly track was going to destroy that white floor in the snow, right? So from the beginning, I was like, we're going to use a Technocrane, right? Well, we don't really have the budget and all of that. Dude, we're on Sony stage. We have 200 grand in lenses. I need a Technocrane. Well, we don't really have it. Okay, cool. So when is the Technocrane coming? Cool. Who do I have to kill? What do I need to sacrifice on the altar? You know, do I give up my golf cart on the Sony lot? Tell me what I got to give up. You know, none of us need cookies for craft service. That's $8. You know, and finally they got the Technocrane. We would not have made the movie without the Technocrane. Why a Technocrane versus a jib? Okay, I grew up on film sets. I've worked with Bogdan, one of the world's best Technocrane operators. He got thanked in La La Land when the director was winning the award for cinematography, right? So what's the difference? A jib crane, they'll tell you, oh yeah, just use a jib, that'll be great for virtual production. It won't, it sucks, they're terrible, right? Virtual production, you want parallax. So you want horizontal movements to the screen to watch the object shift. That creates a 3-dimensional environment where you have background, midground, and foreground, right? So those lateral, parallel movements are great. Movements that are dynamic and then track and then move are great. The trouble with sweeping moves is that they go in and they don't show parallax quite as nicely, and they don't allow you to do very good composition. Your composition on a fixed jib is circular. It makes these little J moves, and J moves very rarely work. And to change the J move, you have to stay inside the arc of the arm. So what I end up doing with a fixed jib is everybody get all the lights out of the way, 5 guys, let's push the base over here. I need to adjust the base 180 degrees to the other side. I need the arc to go left to right. So stay away from fixed jibs. Do everything you can to get telescoping jibs. Use Dana dollies, use track, but the telescoping cranes, fight for them on LED stages. They make all the difference in the world. Okay? VP production workflow. You know, as a cinematographer, you want to be in at the concept and script breakdown. During previs and gray boxing, my first questions are, where is the stage I'm using? Is it a J stage like this? And is there a wall here? And is there an open space here? If there is, that tells me I need to use my lighting from over here. If I'm up against a wall over here, my lights are going to be right on top of my actress, and they're going to look terrible and it'll look fake. I'll show you that later. But you want to know the physical layout of the space you're operating in, because it will inform where you have room to do lighting, right? And you need to build that in from the very beginning. Knowing your physical space, then you model your camera back and your lenses into Unreal. Then you do virtual scouts where you put lenses on from your lens set and make sure you're not having to be like, Like for instance, oh, hey, look, I want to be on a tight-in lens like this and do this move, but my camera will have to be outside in the parking lot to get that shot on that lens. You need to find that out in gray boxing phase. Shoot your movie in Unreal before you step foot on the physical stage. You will save yourself so much trouble. These stages at a minimum are 15,000 euros a day, usually 60 to 100,000 euros a day, depending on the size and the amount of people you have involved in them, right? Do your homework, don't be lazy, do not hire cinematographers who don't have any experience in Unreal Engine, 3D modeling, and have this kind of work. Those people should be volunteering and learning. If your DP says, oh, I rely on my VFX supervisor for that, run for the hills. This is a special effects shoot. You need somebody like me who spent 30 years setting flags, watching people build special effects, and I have all the tricks from green screen lighting that I used in the 90s that are now important now again in the 2025s, right? The things I learned lighting green screens in the 90s are the same things that make me good at lighting an LED wall, right? Lighting spill will blow out the black levels, right? So you have to be very good as a grip. I started out as a grip. You need to control all of the light. Actors' light stays on the actors and stays off of the wall, right? So I take a look at a sound stage. If I don't see a lot of flags and a lot of C-stands, I know you're in trouble, right? You need to use egg crates. You need to control your lighting. Right? So then you go to environmental design, then you go to tech viz. Okay? So how do you do the blend? What is the blend, right? The blend is where you take the actor's space, the foreground layer, and the ground layer, and it goes into the midground, and then from the midground, it marries the background. The digital is the background, and the midground where it meets the background. If you go watch a TV show called The Mandalorian, I know it's the free spot on the bingo card for virtual production. Somebody mentioned Mandalorian, they will always have a little step up and then the outside, or it'll be a frame within a frame, or it'll be on a sand dune, and then the sand dune kicks up, right? And then it continues on, right? You start to spot that. That's where they cover the blend, right? We spent hours working on the blend in Europa, and the team at Pixo did an amazing job. We used tiger stripe patterns to hide the blend, right? So where the wall ends and the physical flooring meets, we would use these straight diagonal lines of dark sand. We would add in physical sand, and then we would continue it with digital sand. And we spent 2 hours just getting it just dialed in so right. Think of traditional patterns of camouflage, right? How does camouflage work, right? Patterns inside patterns, right? Tiger stripes, blotches, foreground elements scanned in into background elements, right? So if you have the time, scan in your foreground objects ahead of time. A physical object up close, perfectly cloned into a distant object, that's how you sell it, right? We're selling a magic trick, okay? Color tones, angle of lighting, quality of lighting, okay? So up close, it falls apart, right? And if you go and watch the Sony video, we hadn't done any of the digital work, right, to go in and do a little blending in post, right, finishing up, showing the lines, right? But this is also why you want a techno crane, right? Because laying dolly track on that destroys your floor, right? So just being able to poke in and poke around helps a lot. In the 1980s, we all played, all the bands discovered synthesizers. And all of the music was like, da-na-na-na, and it was all sounds and synth, right? And they overdid it, right? So we're in an age where we have a new tool. Virtual production and LED walls are the new synthesizer of the 2020s, right? And we're going to overuse it for places we don't need to use it. And we're going to forget about the drums and the guitar solo for a bit, right? But remember, it's just like a musical composition. VP where VP makes sense, green screen where green screen makes sense, all of them working in concert together to do maximum efficiency, minimum effort, right? So what does that mean, right? Use green screen when you need green screen. When you're going to be doing roto work to paint out lines of actors floating down to the planet, don't even bother trying to put it on the wall, right? You want to get that floaty feeling. I want to go to 60 frames a second. Well, we can't shoot 60 frames. We're on a VP set. Yeah, you can, because I'm going to use a green screen, right? Use whatever tool you need for the shot you need, right? Don't get so fixated that you're just in one pipeline, right? Okay? What do you do on film sets? The things that look great, go back to Akira Kurosawa. You know, he was working in 4:3 aspect ratio. It's this tiny little box. And you look at his frames, and they're always alive with depth, right? A main samurai character. He always had a foreground character, a midground thing like a window, and out the window there was some background going on. Maybe it was raining out there, maybe it was other samurais practicing, moving around in a background, but at any time you could look at 3 different spots in an Akira Kurosawa frame, right? There's a reason he's legendary, there's a reason he's a master, right? We are doing the same thing with virtual production. Nothing looks worse than the 1980s green screen where somebody walks in on one plane, turns and interacts, and the camera stays to the one plane. It looks so fake, it looks so bad, right? So change angles, come around, introduce an angle of the wall and then break it so you're creating multiple lines. Don't just film directly up, right? Go here to there, right? So I have a foreground element, I have a midground real rock, I have a background digital rock, right? So you have foreground, midground, background. Hunt for those in all of your compositions, right? Close-ups add texture, right? And you always want to use a good close-up to sell that feeling of realness, right? And just like David Copperfield, he'll hide the little magic trick inside a big motion, right? So you fill the frame with something real. When you're introducing the LED wall, start off on the real prop up close, right? If you're doing a car shot and it's a scene, show them the wall in a reflection of the car, but we're watching the actor, and the actor's doing the motion, and then the actor gets out of the car, and you're watching the actress move. And you've seen the LED wall in a reflection, you've seen it in a blurry background, in a motion. It's there for 30 seconds to a minute before you realize that you're even looking at a still image of that wall, right? Introduce it, hide the magic trick, direct people's eyes, right? And if you've got sometimes we end up with a mid-level scene, it happens, right? So how do you integrate a mid-level scene, right? Hide it with motion, hide it with physical props, hide it with composition where you're directing and demanding the eye to look where you want the eye to look, right? Okay, problems I ran into Europa, they were practical, this may help you. I knew from years of gaffing that reflective helmets were always going to be a problem. When they were testing the actress, I said, hey, let me take a motorcycle helmet down. Or when you're at the costume shop, show me the helmet, right? And they're like, oh, hey, video call, we're here at the actor's fitting, we're putting the helmet on. And they put the helmet on, and I immediately see every single individual light over her head, right? Which means when I'm filming on an LED stage, I'm going to be seeing the tracking unit, I'm going to be seeing the box truss, I'm going to be seeing the jagged edge, right? And so I told the costumer, hey, let's order some of that film that you use for showers to kind of blur windows, right? The distortion film. So we took shower curtain film and placed it on there, and it gave a sun visor effect to the helmet, and as you can see, it took all the key lights and just blurred them into a schmear, and it saved my bacon, right? So the devil is in the details, right? Be present with every portion that you're gonna have to film, get ahead of the curve, have that stuff ordered and ready there on the day of, do your tests, it helps you, it's super important, okay? Depth of field helps blur the background, right? You want to check your depth of field. You want to choose what's important. Use egg crates for reducing spill. Okay, Venice 2 was an amazing camera. I got on the set, we had a backlight. The backlight, we were shooting ISO 800. The backlight hit the white floor, and it created all of this 40-foot by bounce, which I should have known. And this bounce light banged up at this wall, and it turned it all shit gray. Like, okay, great, my backlight's killing us. And everybody was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna fix this? And all this is like, it's okay, I'm shooting on a Venice. The Venice 2, I go over to the camera, I take the ISO from 800, and I turned it to 3200. Way more light sensitive, right? Then I told the gaffer, take that light from 100% and dial it down to 2%. All of a sudden, the practical lights on the helmets are glowing really bright. Now they're reading, and now all of that bounce light is way down. And then it was nice and dark on the stage, and it felt like the surface of a planet that was spinning around in outer space. One fix, right? Now you want to shoot at a base ISO. The Venice 2 shoots at a 3200 as a base ISO, so we're not getting any digital noise, right? But that also let me use the aperture infinite bars, which we had 30 feet away rigging the stage for the color effect later on. And I was expecting to have to add in a bunch of lights to raise that color floor. But because I was shooting at ISO 3200, those little teeny lights, you know, like the Titan tubes, quasar tubes, right? They read from that far away, right? So lean into the strengths of your camera. Know what your levers are. Use them effectively. Color calibration, very important. Color accurate monitors, very important. How am I on time? 2 minutes. Okay, great. I want this to be a video that you can use as a reference for the students in the room and anybody working in VP. So I'm going to throw a lot in the next 2 minutes. Feel free to re-watch it because it's going to be information dense. You deserve it. I'm going to give you everything I can. Okay. Go to shotdeck.com. Build yourself an image reference. Get out of language as quickly as you can with your directors and get into imagery. That will help you define what the look is that you're going for. Steal your Promethean fire from everywhere. We all do it amongst each other. We all learn from each other. Okay? Okay, find reference images, take notes, photographs, and meter readings. Remember, you're working on a special effects shoot. Go outside with your camera package, put the aperture at 2.8, 3.2, figure out what it looks real. Start with real cameras outside. If you're a student, borrow the camera gear. Go do test shoots in real environments. Apply what you learn from your notes. Aperture setting, focus, what does the blur look like? What does real look like? Have real imagery as your reference point when you're working in digital imagery, okay? So you want to fix your live color grading. You want to match the pre-existing background. You want to find the angle of the light. You want to find the number of lights. You want to find the quality of the lights. And you want to find the ratio of the lights, right? Remember the secondary things, right? There's a lot of bounce light that comes up. If you're standing on a beach and you're doing a beach scene in a volume, put some cardboard down that's tan, bang a light into that to get that secondary bounce that you would have from the beach, right? If you're integrating interiors, actors moving through shadows, remember the shadow will sell a VP stage as much as a light will. Right? If I'm stepping out from under a garage and I pass from a little shadow over my head, shadows sell you as much as lighting will, right? If you're looking for direction of lighting, look at the shadow. The shadow always tells you exactly where the light is opposite, right? You know, under here, 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 right? So live color grading, 3 layers of depth of field, make sure perspective is right, check your black levels, use filters. Use black pearl mist, just use distortion filters. It takes that digital imagery and marries it to the physical, right? And it breaks up the moire patterns, right? Okay, so here's your questions. If you take a still image of anything I say this speech, take a photo of this. Use this. This is what I did as a gaffer. This is what I do as a cinematographer. This is the fundamental of every time you step foot on an LED set. Is the light hard? Is it medium? Is it soft? Is the light source small? Is it medium? Or is it large? How many light sources are there, right? How many shadows are playing in that area? Then you want to think of what is the ratio of those lights to each other, and then what is the color temperature of those lights. And the final one is, are there any effects lights? Is it a street nearby or lights kicking off of the car? Am I in a warehouse and is there a little yellow light spinning around from the forklift, right? As the lights move away from the lighting unit, it gets half as bright, twice as long. This is a thing people don't understand. You put lights too close to actors. What does that mean? There's the inverse square law, right? You don't want actors in this sharp hockey stick zone, okay? The light drops off like a brick. Right? So you want bigger sources further away. Bounces look good. right? Up here on the right, this is what you get, right? Super bright to super dark, that means she's got an area that's a box this big which she can maneuver in. You want a big light source way far away. That's what Chivo taught me from The Revenant, right? Big sources far away, right? And that creates a much larger box in which your actors can move around before it feels like this outdoor scene is showing them on an indoor stage, right? That lighting blossom is what gives away the fact that you're on an LED stage most of the time. That's what looks so fake, okay? Also, the last thing is watch your color space. Unreal Engine is calibrated at 6,500 Kelvin. Computer monitors are 6,500 Kelvin. All of filmmaking operates around 5,600 Kelvin. So when I begin with my program, I tell my Unreal operators, make it 5,600 so that my film set lighting is accurate to my gaffers and to the lighting, and then I have my LED wall set to 5,600. If you turn on your LED stage and it looks blue or it looks orange, you've got a color calibration issue. And sometimes it's easier to fix it Unreal, sometimes you fix it on the wall, sometimes you have to fix it in the camera. All right, depth of field, 2.8 to f22. Okay, f2.8, you can see a foreground object, midground's a little blurry, background really blurry. F5.6, that's the widest you should be on a stage. You want to be between 5.6 and a 2.8 on your stage. Too blurry might not show the background enough. 5.6 shows the wall a lot for the wide shots, shows you the detail in the thing created. Anything beyond that, the midground, background, and foreground start to blur. You can't even tell, hey, is that little head there to that creature, right? Here you see creatures defined from one creature second and background, right? You get up to 11 and 22, I can't even tell what's background and foreground because the depth of field is so blown, right? So you want to control your depth of field when you're working on LED stages. You want to be actively checking it and you want to be actively choosing how much of the background you're showing. Okay? Danke. Wow.